Dear students, welcome to the next session of corporate communication. And today's topic for discussion is conducting and participating in meetings. Now, this concept is something with respect to a lot of meetings which have been held in the corporate industry, especially business organizations. And when we are meeting, be it a regular monthly meeting or be it a weekly meeting or be it a daily meeting, there are a lot of things which we tend to focus on. And today's session is with respect to how to conduct and participate in meetings. So it has been broken into two. One is conducting the meetings and second one is in participating in meetings. So let us look at the conduct of meetings and what is that we are supposed to do when we are conducting the meetings. As a student, we're supposed to know this because tomorrow when we hit the corporate industry, when we are getting into the industry, especially during our SIP or during our MCPs, we definitely would have to interact with our superiors, and the superiors might ask us a lot of things during the meeting. So let's look at some of the concepts with respect to meetings and how to conduct a meeting. First, the techniques of conducting meetings. The very first one which I'm going to speak of is planning the meeting. Now, a meeting is generously, as I said some time back, it can be a monthly meeting, it can be a regular weekly meeting, it can be a daily meeting. Now, any meeting where you would need people, you would definitely make sure that you would want everybody's presence. So the best thing is plan the meeting and schedule it in such a way that where all of the people whomsoever is required for the meeting is available, and his presence or the people involved into that particular meeting should make sure are aware of the meeting is to be conducted and what is to be spoken in that particular meeting. So the meeting has to be planned, and without the planning we are not supposed to hold one of the meetings. So the first thing is plan the meeting and the plan, make sure that the meeting is being communicated to everyone. Now that the meeting has been planned, and what is that the next step I'm supposed to do is follow the plan. Supposedly the meeting is not the regular meeting, and the meeting here which I'm speaking of is a monthly meeting or a quarterly meeting or a biannual meeting, or it can be also a meeting which has been done on an annual basis. What is that I'm supposed to do as an individual when I'm conducting the meeting? Is first is plan the meeting. Second is obviously follow the meetings. When I'm trying to do the follow up, what is needed for that particular meeting? What is has the agenda been sent? Have the invite been sent? Are the people are aware of? On the is that falling on a day which possibly is like not many people would be able to come on that particular meeting. So all these things have to be followed up, and make sure that the follow up is been done in a nice way where you communicate with each individual who is there in that particular meeting who was supposed to be part of that. The next thing is move the discussion along, and obviously this is where the agenda has been already sent, and the person is aware of the people whomsoever are part of that meeting are aware of what is to be discussed in that particular meeting. And one by one, as the host of that particular meeting, what is that I'm supposed to do is make sure that I start with a discussion, and the discussion begins with the agenda which has been sent, point number one, point number two, point number three, point number four, and move along the discussion. What does this move along with the discussion mean is make sure that everyone is involved into that particular discussion, and simultaneously everyone either agrees or disagrees. So whatever is the agenda is been discussed in depth, and everyone does make a contribution to that particular point. And once the first point is done, we move on to the second point, and simultaneously we move along the what is the agenda been set by the organizer or the person who is conducting meeting. We follow up with that. The next thing is control those who talk too much. A lot of times it happens that in the meetings there are many. I've seen personally that in the corporate, in the business organizations, there have been individuals who don't speak at all, and there are a set of individuals who would want to speak at length. And during a meeting, during a discussion, we just make sure that when there are people who are talking too much, we know we need to be, as an organizer, we should know that where should we cut down that particular person who speaks at length. And we also make sure that simultaneously involve the people who are not speaking. So how do we control those who talk too much is basically take their viewpoints and put it across to the other persons who are part of the meeting. So that is the best way, so that the person who is speaking about, he explains his concepts, he explains it, say about 2 5 minutes, and that concept is being put across to the entire team, and then the team discusses. Rather than one person speaking, we have many people speaking for that particular agenda. As I said some time back, encourage participation from those who talk too little. First point, the previous point is obviously we need to control the people who are talking too much, or they're taking too much of time off the meeting. And there might be possibility that there are people who might speak little, or they might not speak at all. So what is that I am as an organizer doing is making sure that I do encourage them on a regular basis. I put across those points which probably the person has the agenda, whichever is going on, we tend to put it across to people who are not speaking, and we take their opinion also, and we take their suggestions also for that particular point, which make sure that we encourage the participation. And simultaneously, when there is participation, there might be something which comes up as a new, which might be useful for the meeting, and which possibly can be a nice idea or a nice concept. Uh, the next point which we are going to discuss in techniques of conducting meeting is obviously the time. And the time allotted generally is about half an hour to 2 hours, or maybe 3 hours, whatever the time is been allotted. As in when you are planning, you would have allotted some time for it. So make sure as an individual, as an organizer, control the time. As I said some time back, if you could control the people who are speaking at length, simultaneously you make sure that you keep a watch on what is the time and how much time is being required to discuss all these set of points. Because when a meeting is going on, we tend to discuss, sometimes the discussion goes wayward, and possibly we'll, as an organizer, have to bring all individuals onto a particular focus on a particular point, so that we tend to utilize the time in a very nice way, and we would control the time which has been allocated for the meeting. The next one is summarize at appropriate places. What's more important, as an organizer, I've seen this during my corporate career, is make sure that as and when you are taking the minutes, minutes of minuting is something with respect to we are jotting down what is to be discussed, and whatever the agenda points are, we tend to make a note of that. And simultaneously, we tend to summarize what is the part of discussion. So when we summarize, we would probably get an idea, a right perspective of what has been discussed there, and we put it across onto the paper there. So summarizing at appropriate places, and when I mean to say, supposedly there are about 5 points which are to be discussed in an agenda. So at the end of each sub point, make sure that the summarization takes place, and each of us who are part of the meeting are aware of the discussion and the summarization. So simultaneously, we move on to the next point. What happens with this is at the end of the meeting, there would be no argument that, hey, look, this was not put across in this way. It was probably put across in a different way, a different perspective about the same point. So the best thing is summarize then and there and move to the next point. The last point is obviously take minutes, and the minutes of meeting has to be circulated. Generously, if you ask me, the minutes of meeting has to be drafted, and it's a proper format which we have discussed in the previous semester about the agenda, be it with minutes of meeting. The minutes of meeting has a particular generous uh, format which most of us we tend to utilize in our minutes of meeting, and it is generally about the agenda, uh, what is the agenda, and who's supposed to do what particular thing, and what actions have to be followed. And generally, these minutes of meetings are being circulated across the people who were part of the meeting. and if needed also to the subordinates of the people who were present. So what happens is with this agenda, whatever is being discussed in the meeting, everyone is aware of, and what actions are need to be taken by if as an individual, if I need to take any actions, I can probably work on to what point is being discussed in that particular agenda, which is related to me. So minutes of meeting is very very important, and taking minutes are is as good as planning the meeting. So make sure that right from the first point to the last point, all those parts, the techniques which we have spoken about, are very 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 important in conducting meetings. Tomorrow, when you will be into a good managerial position, you would need to do all those things where you would conduct the meetings and simultaneously make sure that the minutes have been also circulated. So with this, the techniques of conducting meeting is done, and we move on to the next part, that is how do I participate in the meeting. Now the techniques for participating in a meeting is something which we will discuss, and uh, this is going to be the last slide, and which we are going to speak about with respect to conducting and participating in a meeting. And the techniques which we are going to speak is obviously very, very generous, which has been told in the textbook. And let's look into these are about 4 or 5, and let's look into the first one. The first one is follow the agenda. Uh, when there is a meeting going on, a lot of times the discussion goes wavered, and make sure that as an organizer, what is that I'm supposed to do is follow up the agenda, and whatever agenda has been fixed, whatever is been planned to speak, just make sure that you follow that each point. So, as I said sometime back, that if there are about 5 or 6 things which are to be spoken in the meeting, make sure that all those 5 6 points are to be discussed, not that we discuss only one point and we leave, and we discuss this one point at length, and which makes everyone boring and something like that. So just to eliminate that, make sure that the agenda, whatever has been set, that agenda has to be followed up as an organizer, and as an individual who is part of that meeting, make sure that you are following the agenda, and you are also participative, and you are answering to whatever points whenever is been raised as such, by the organizer. The next step is obviously participate. As an individual, you have to participate, and you have to because the agenda has been sent generally about a week or 10 days before, and you are aware of what is the agenda or what is to be spoken in the meeting. So the best thing is you have to participate from your perspective. What is that you think, and what is your ideas, what is your concept with respect to that particular point which is there in the agenda. So you would have had gone through the agenda well in advance, so that you can have your what is that your experience with respect to that particular agenda point, which you can put it across, which possibly the others are not aware of. So it is always good that you participate in the meetings, though you might be a junior, or though you might have a lot of seniors around you. You can please participate during the meeting which is happening. The next point is do not talk too much. As I said sometime back in the previous slide, is there are people in the meetings who would talk at length. So make sure that the very first point which we spoke here in the techniques for participating in the meeting is follow the agenda. Whatever is the agenda being set by the individual, is you are supposed to follow that, and do not talk too much, or do make sure that whatever is been asked for, you speak about that, and you keep your perspective, and you make sure that others also participate in that particular meeting. Very very important point here, which I would want to bring to your notice, is cooperate. And this is the next thing which we are going to speak, is obviously as an individual I have to cooperate in the meeting. I make sure that I whomsoever is the organizer is, I cooperate with them, and I also cooperate with the people who are the members of the meeting. As I said sometime back, there might be seniors, there might be juniors, there might be subordinates, there might be peers who are part of my discussion, and the discussion certain times can probably move towards a heated discussion. So as an individual, make sure that you cooperate, and you are part of the discussion, and you are keeping your perspective, and you are allowing other person also to speak about their perspective. The last point which we are going to speak here is be courteous. Now, what does this mean by this word here is obviously uh, I need to be respectful, I need to be polite, and I need to be part of the discussion where, as an individual, be it a senior, junior, or be it my own boss who's sitting right in front of me, I need to be polite and I need not to. I need not to have a discussion or a heated discussion with my peer or with my colleagues. I need not to raise my voice also whenever in the meeting. So just make sure that be polite and be respectful for the people who are part of the meeting and be correct. So with this, I would end today's session and I thank you for being the audience. And if you have any questions, if you have any queries with respect to today's presentation, please do call me or message me. I would be happy to help you out. And wishing you happy learning. And if you have any doubts, if you have any questions, please do ask me. I will be in a position to answer. Thank you. Thank you very much.